Okay, the first time didn't work. The second time didn't work. The third time didn't work. But you know what they say, Erica? The fourth time is charm. And we are live from the 5th floor of Fondren Library. You are listening to the Mustang Mood. And the Mustangs are now, as I've said for the 4th time, undefeated in conference for the 2nd year in a row. Please excuse all of these technical difficulties, everybody. I obviously have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know anything about football, and I don't know anything about podcasting, on the technical side at least. So,
you don't know anything about football?
No, I don't know anything about football. Okay, well, the Mustangs did it, undefeated in conference.
Nobody thought we could.
Nobody thought we could. I didn't think we could.
Brighton, did you think we could?
I definitely didn't think we could.
Well, here we are. We're all surprised.
Well, here we are. Well, as you may notice, there is quite a bit less testosterone on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to it, honestly.
Team estrogen, baby.
Yeah.
Team estrogen.
So you've met my wonderful wife, Erica, before. She's here to my right, to your left, and her best friend, Brighton, is here with us.
Hello.
You know, there were a lot going on with the holidays. We were in town. The guys were like, "Hey, Walker, can you do this by yourself?" And I was like, "I don't need to do it by myself."
He brought the experts in.
I brought the people that actually know what's going on in.
Right, that's exactly
And people
right.
that have a real pulse.
You should hear us talking during the games. We're like live commentators.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Oh, man. Well, where do we start? Let's start with the game.
Or us.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I guess you introduced us.
I did. You want to talk more about yourself?
You know, I love to talk about myself.
Go for it.
No, it's okay. We can move on.
Okay, sounds good.
I just thought you had questions.
We can get to those.
Okay, we'll get to
Yeah,
those.
we'll get to those. Well, okay, first thoughts on the game. I want to hear what y'all think.
I was a little stressed, not gonna lie.
She was
I mean,
stressed.
scoring 3 touchdowns in the first quarter was fantastic, and then the next 2 quarters, I was definitely not feeling like we were gonna do very good. But you know, a win is a win, especially we're already in the championship.
It was more than a
can
win,
guess.
though.
Yeah.
I mean,
We
blew
was
them
good.
out.
We
Yeah.
did
By
blow
the
them out.
end.
Yeah, by the end,
But it felt,
we picked up our steam late. I think.
well, we had it early and then it was boring. And also very frustrating because I felt like every step forward, you take 1 step forward and 3 steps back.
Little did you know this is also going to be a musical podcast.
Well, that's all I got to say. Lots of penalties and it was frustrating to watch.
Yeah, so what's up with the penalties, guys?
I don't know. Do you know? Do you have something to tell us?
Give us some numbers
I got to
here.
go to the press conference after the game,
Wow.
which 20 minutes with Lashley answering questions. It's kind of funny. You can tell when he's in a really good mood because his answers to questions in press conferences are very long-winded.
He was yapping.
He's
Yeah,
a yapper
he
just
went-
like us.
So I asked him about the penalties because this is something I've been saying all season long is like we have too many penalties.
Mm-hmm.
Before this game, we were, I think, 131 in penalty yards per game. And Erica or Brighton, do you know how many college football teams there are in D1?
134.
134.
I
It's like I
cheated.
told you
She's
that.
got
Yeah.
Earlier. So 131 out of 134 teams we were in penalties per game average, basically, for this season. And not only did we just like completely blow it out of the water, we almost doubled our average penalty yards per game this game, which is crazy. So I've been talking about it all season. It's like
Hey,
we
Walker,
need to get this under control.
How many penalty yards did we have this game? I know. Do you know?
Yeah, I've got it right here. We had 17 penalties for 137 yards.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And our average per
record,
game
good
was like
lord.
72, something like around 70. This game here made it jump up to like 80 yards per game average,
Yeah.
which is
That's
wild.
It's frustrating.
Absolutely
I mean,
insane.
it's almost embarrassing. You're like,
Eh?
how can we
It
have
is.
this record
It
and
is.
have that
Yeah.
stat?
Yeah, so let me get to it real quick because I asked Coach Lashley about this, and this was his response here. It may take a second before it gets to the question, but
special. And like I said, told the guys they've done something that, for the most part, hasn't been done this way. So that's pretty cool.
are you worried about penalties in future? I asked him, are you worried about
Yeah, I
penalties
mean,
next game?
I see the stats. I mean, 17 is a lot. It's got to be a record for me and us. I know we had a lot in our first game of the year too. I mean, look, there's a couple times we've got to look the other way. The second guy usually gets caught. They hit you, you hit back, you get a penalty. So I mean, I'll have to look and see. Yeah, I'm worried about it. I don't think probably we were guilty of all 17, but we were clearly guilty of a bunch of them. And it doesn't really matter. The officials are in charge, and if they say you're guilty of 17, you're guilty of 17. And you know, we can't have 17 penalties and win next week or any of the games that we have left because the competition that's coming. So you know, if we'd have had 17 every game, I'd be worried. You know, it's kind of weird. Up until this year, we've always been one of the least penalized teams. This year, we've had more penalties than we have in the past. Not 17, but and so yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I mean, I think discipline's important. It's funny though. We did a study a few years ago. I think it was there's a little bit of a myth in sports that the least penalized teams win. You know, when timely penalties happen, they hurt you. But like a couple years ago when Cincinnati went and played in the college football playoff, they were one of the most penalized teams in the country. And they were some physical mothers. You know what I mean? And so you have to find that balance. And this year, we don't love indiscipline penalties, which is pre-snap, post-snap, the unsportsmanlike conduct, pushing a guy or hitting a guy. Like that stuff can't happen because pre- and post-snap, you can control that. So, yeah, I'm worried about that. At the same time, to move into a league that we've never been in and to compete, we had to play with an edge. And that's a fine line. So, yeah, we got to clean that up, but not happy about that part.
So, obviously, he kind of said what I thought he would say with we got to clean that up. We got to do better because you're right. We can't beat Clemson if we get 17 penalties in a game.
Oh, no.
We can't beat Clemson if we get, 8 penalties for, our average of 70 yards a game.
Yeah.
So they got to figure that out.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the penalties, like he mentioned specifically unsportsmanlike conduct, there was one, maybe
two?
I think just one.
I think we had one.
But the bigger ones, you had several false starts.
Well, in the first quarter, we were on the 1 yard line and we got 2 false starts in a row.
Yeah. You had several holdings, and to me, it's just kind of that's like semi-sloppy play. Like, I understand, like, yes, the unsportsmanlike shouldn't happen, obviously. Like, someone lost their head. But, the false starts and the holdings, that's, like, actually how you're playing, and it's just a little bit maybe not as refined as you need it to be, especially going into the championship. So, yeah, that's where I worry. And he didn't really call those out that much.
He did say that the, pre-snap, post-snap penalties, unsportsmanlike, those are unacceptable. But it seemed like he has a bit more of a soft spot towards penalties that happen during play where they're just being aggressive, playing tough, or responding to how the other team is playing, and then we just get caught. The little brother, big brother type situation.
I can appreciate that because, like, your record speaks for itself. And to him saying, your penalties aren't going to determine how you're going to do. Like, yeah, it's going to matter in a game against Clemson. But I think if he were to get nitpicky over some of these, when you have the record that they have, your players are going to get frustrated. But I guess his comment of clean it up, I'm curious to see how he attempts to do that with these smaller things before next week.
Because our average penalties per game is this year it's nearly double, I think, of what it was last year, which is crazy. Because I think we maybe a little less than double. I think we were average like 5 or something like that. So it's quite the change. I don't know what happened. I mean, I think it's because we're in a tougher conference and we're playing tougher. Like, our guys are more aggressive.
Sure. It's just...
And we're playing better teams.
Yeah, for
playing
sure.
teams you never played before. So, like, the adjustment and the learning curve even with that's going to result in some sort of reaction. And that's just the penalties maybe.
Yeah, there's just nothing, though, that sucks the air out of your play after you make an amazing play. And someone in the backfield was holding, And there's just nothing that sucks the air out of your lungs. You're like, oh, my gosh, like, how could you let that happen, And so I think there is, of course, like, play aggressively, but I don't know. I mean, you lose momentum and you lose the game, and enough penalties can cause that. Obviously, we didn't see that tonight because it was a bit of a stomp show, but maybe, against a better team. So.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the chat here. We've got Tom Riddle in the chat.
Tom Riddle. Hey, That's an awesome name. I don't know if it's your real name, but you have the same name as someone in Harry Potter, so that's awesome.
That's all you got to say about Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Tom Riddle.
Yeah, he says that he was just doing some research for us. Wow. This is the most penalties since a game against Tulsa in 2003 that we've had.
Oh my goodness.
For SMU.
For SMU, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so
It was just sloppy, I think. You get to like this point and you're like, okay, we're playing in the championship. Like,
yeah.
so at this point, how much do you care if you jump forward a little bit?
Yeah.
That's probably what the players were thinking. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I mean, we won. We blew them out.
Sure.
You know, we
But
went
it's-
undefeated in conference, which
I kind of peed a little bit. It was sort of.
Okay.
Did I say that?
yeah, I mean, sorry, I just had to throw that in there.
I like
right?
that.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, you're
great.
so excited. No. Yeah, I mean, for sure. It's exciting. I just think it is worrisome going into like bigger play. We've never played Clemson. I think they're a
They're
harder
a big team. Yeah.
And they're a harder team than we've maybe played in the past. And so every yard counts. And today we threw away 134 of them. And
Yeah.
that's crazy.
that's a difference maker in
A
next week.
huge difference maker.
Yeah.
I don't think there's
1
anything that
yard
doesn't
could
worry
be a
me,
difference
though.
maker.
Yeah.
100 for sure, you know? So,
Yeah, I mean, they'll get it together. I'm sure we'll do better. I know, like, one thing that I've learned about Coach Lashley this year, just kind of being in a bit closer proximity and hearing him speak at the press conferences and watching how the team has progressed, is that him and his coaching staff, they're extremely humble, and they're very good at learning from their mistakes and making changes so that the team can be better, for sure. What did y'all think about the crowd for this game?
Tough to say. I mean, you're 2 days after Thanksgiving. Everyone's filled with turkey. They just want to sleep on their couch. Your students are probably at home doing their laundry at their parents' house. Like, it was clear that there were far less students there than any other game, which is saying a lot because, I mean, the students have showed up. And I still would say that, like, the students that were there were more than the games 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Even. But the community and the families and the other fans that showed up, I think, were a fantastic number. I mean, certainly when you're blowing them out, it's going to dwindle, but I was really impressed in general.
it was a bigger crowd, honestly, than I was expecting, just with it being so close to Thanksgiving. We actually had some Thanksgiving travelers sitting near us from Toronto.
Oh, whoa.
They said this was their first kind of, I guess, American football.
Why did they choose this one?
Daughter lives in Dallas.
Yeah, I think they were here for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
okay.
But a couple, they'd been married for 42 years. Yeah, they wanted to see American football. He was filming the pony, as he called it, as Peruna ran across the field. We got to tell him about kind of our, rise to fame in the ACC this year, how nobody thought we could do it, and here we are. And he was amped. And we have a
He can't wait for next week.
exactly.
We,
We
hyped it
have
up.
a fan who's going to be cheering all the way from Toronto for the SMU ponies. So it was pretty fun. Got some rando Thanksgiving travelers in there too.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's fun. We asked, well, we didn't ask. Someone else asked Rhett about the fans, and this is what he had to say.
SMU fans broke the single season attendance record.
Yeah, the single season attendance record.
Mhm.
Crazy.
Played your final game at Ford Stadium this year. What can you say about the fans and how they've helped you accomplish?
Yes, what can you say about the fans and how they help you accomplish
Special.
the season?
I mean, it's Ford Stadium can be one of the hardest places to play in the country. It can be the hardest place to play in our league, and it can be an atmosphere that really helps us like it did this year. I mean, even today, the crowd was great. We've never had good crowds on Thanksgiving weekend. I mean, the whole city's gone, all the students are gone, and we still had a great crowd today. And you could hear them and you could feel them. And before you think I'm crazy, just because our stadium seats like, 35,000 or whatever, I mean, Cameron Indoor is pretty rowdy. And it's like, under 10,000? You know what I mean? It's not about size and numbers. It's about packing it and being loud and passionate and rowdy. I think we saw the start of what it can be here this year. And so, look, we're still the new kids. This is just year one, and we're not done with this year, but it's not like anything happens this year carries over to next year. We're going to have to create a tradition, a culture, an expectation of this is SMU football. This is what Ford Stadium is supposed to be like year after year after year, and I think we're off to a great start.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know what I call that tradition, that culture, that attitude, some might say?
Does it start with an M?
I guess yeah.
Maybe.
I was gonna say it starts with the, but yeah.
Oh, then it goes
the
M,
which stands for the Mustang mood.
Wow,
right?
the
That's the
Mustang
attitude.
mood is
That's
getting
us.
rowdy.
But that's the culture. I mean, that's like the people that listen to this podcast. That's us here. That's the guys can't be here, right?
Yeah.
Is like, we have the Mustang mood is the name of the podcast, but like, I just love the idea of like us as the fans. Like we've got that attitude. We've got that Mustang mood. you
Right.
know?
Of course. No,
That's what Red wants from everybody. I want it too.
I definitely think there was a palpable difference this year. Every game that you
Absolutely.
attended was starkly different from any game that I ever attended as a student. And so that's exciting. Even today, like I said, I, like him, kind of expected nobody to be there.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case. It was definitely less full than normal or than we've seen this year. But like Brighton said, it was as full as it ever was
Oh, for sure.
in our fullest games in prior years. So that's really exciting.
I mean, even the student section, everyone was like, they built that new part of the stadium. They're taking away the hill, and everyone's like, that's going to kill your student section. And I think our
No.
numbers exploded.
Yeah.
And I mean, you put them behind the opposing team's bench, like
Yeah.
so many
Oh, it's so
schools do
good.
that. And it's a fantastic idea. And
Yeah.
I think it's really like just exploded the student section in the best way.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been saying it for probably 2 years now, is that the hill needs to go.
Yeah.
Good riddance to the hill. It was fun, nice watching the kids roll down it, whatever. But it was terrible for the culture, terrible for the student section.
yeah.
And now that we have all the students packed into 5 sections right behind the visitors bench, I mean, it's
It's fun.
perfect.
Yeah.
We learned that you can't have cans
Yeah.
down there.
Thanks.
It was really unfortunate.
Thanks, Texas students, but
Goodbye to Texas University.
that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
good job.
Well, I mean, in the spirit of what's happening right now.
Yeah, so
Except they
Erica's
are not
actually
saying goodbye.
Erica's watching.
Well, it's halftime.
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
halftime. But Erica was watching the Texas A&M game right now.
Correct.
What was I talking about? Oh, also the Cal fans. They were pretty good. They didn't leave early when they were getting
No,
blown out.
They were committed.
Which,
Yeah.
I mean, if I came all the way from California, I wouldn't leave early either.
Maybe they didn't, though. Maybe
they're
there's
from
just
here.
a Cal
Yeah.
fan
Local,
base
yeah.
in Dallas.
I'm sure there are a few, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, like, when I walked through the boulevard, it wasn't packed like any of the other games. But,
We didn't spend much time there.
Yeah.
yeah.
I will say I didn't expect there to be a lot because of
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, and so I didn't give it the commitment that it was due. But
No.
even the Boulevard, I think, has changed a lot this year as
Oh,
well.
it's so much better. Yeah. And especially some of the big games this year, it's been absolutely packed. Like, hard to get
Yeah,
around.
shoulder to shoulder in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just like on the lawn, like it's crazy. But this year, I think for this game, I wouldn't say it was any worse than our average Boulevard last year.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I'd say probably about the same for the fans in the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But to see like,
I
I mean,
don't know. The fans in the stadium, it felt more full than
it
most of the games.
no, yeah,
last
oh
year.
yeah, that's what's crazy is like this Thanksgiving weekend game probably had a better atmosphere, like better turnout and better energy than any of our home games last year.
Sure.
I think.
I would agree with that.
And like the student section was half full, which for, this type of game, I think is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the student section is completely full, considering that like that is like probably like 7,000 people and our undergrad population is 8,000, 7,500, like,
Yeah.
that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of people for how many people go to this school,
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I think it's pretty cool. It's fun to be a part of.
Yeah, for sure. If only I were a student.
I know. I feel like that was the resounding answer whenever you'd have people come for homecoming or fly back that went to school here. I mean, we graduated a few years ago. We went when I think Ben Hicks was still here, and so to hear people say, "Man, I wish it was like this back when we first started," I feel
Yeah.
like we would have had not a different college experience, but just a different fall
Definitely.
experience.
Yeah, for sure.
To know that you were going to the game on Saturday versus I feel like when we were here, it was oh, are you going to the game, and 4 out of 5 people were like, well, the Boulevard, but
Yeah, no,
going
exactly.
to take a nap after that. So.
Right.
Yeah, so we clinched the championship spot
Mm-hmm.
last week when we beat Virginia. So we're going to Charlotte, and we learned pretty close to like the end of the SMU game that Miami lost to Syracuse,
Yep.
which I was shocked. I can't believe they completely blew that.
Yeah.
But now we're facing Clemson.
Right.
How do y'all feel about that?
I think in terms of overall odds of winning, I feel better about beating Clemson. I think we're a more fairly matched team. And we were even like, as we were walking away from the stadium, we were looking back at like the records of Clemson and South Carolina and just a bunch of different teams that like trying to get a feel for where Clemson was at. And we feel like it's a bummer that it wasn't Miami in there, because I think even if we lost, you would have a case for 2 teams, Miami, and if it were us, then if us making it into the championship. But I think Miami was ranked 5th, and now that they're not in it, I think, you know, the committee's going to take whoever wins the ACC championship, and I don't know if you're going to have another team going after that. So I think we need to win if we want to make the playoffs, but I don't know.
It's tough. I mean, so we're actually against Clemson. I think we're now 1.5 point favorites
Really?
against them.
Because they lost today?
Yeah, well, they were ranked under us anyways, right? We were 9, they were 12 in the college football playoff ranking.
But that's a nobody knows who's going to win that.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean-
for sure. And I think when it first opened, like right after our games finished, Clemson was like 1.5 points ahead, and then it flipped pretty soon after to SMU being 1.5 points, which I don't know why Clemson opened ahead. Make that make sense. You know, they're ranked below us, they lost. We're ranked above them, we won, and then they're favored. But it looks like they're not favored anymore. So, what was I going to say? I don't know. I mean, how do y'all feel?
I'm excited. I mean, I really want us to win. I think I feel more pressure to win. Like Brighton was saying, like, I think even if we had showed up and played really well against Miami, but maybe come short, I still think there would have been a really strong case to have SMU in the playoffs because Miami's ranked 5th. You know, like if today hadn't happened, Miami had just gone and squashed Syracuse, I think it would have been a strong case. SMU showed up, they played, it could have been their game on a different day. And I don't know against Clemson if you can do that. I think you have to beat Clemson. And I think we can do it. But I think there's a lot more pressure riding on the game now because of the way that things panned out today, which is fine. I mean, I think pressure sometimes can bring out the best in a team, but I do feel more nervous going into it for sure.
Yeah. I don't know why. I guess I kind of know why, but like I felt better against Miami than against Clemson for our team.
Why is that?
I think like Miami has a very good offense, obviously. Like their quarterback's in the Heisman running. He's really good. But our defense is incredible.
Absolutely.
Right. And so I like felt good that we'd be able to shut them down. And Miami's had so many close games. Like they've been like flirting
They
with
beat Cal by
losing
1.
a game
We checked that
all
earlier.
season. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that I felt good about our offense being able to just pick apart their defense, right? But I think Clemson, I mean, from what I understand, I mean, that's a big brand. Dabo Swinney's a great coach. They got some huge guys.
Yeah.
And
Big boys. I like to say that's a big boy. He would tear me to pieces. But
yeah. And so I'm a little worried. I know we'll prep well for it, but
What makes me most nervous is the proportions of fan bases that are going to be there because it's in Charlotte and Clemson is how far? I don't know how far. I mean, you've got SMU, you know, there's some people with some decent money that'll splurge to fly out there for sure. I mean, there are definitely people that are going to make the trip out there, but I think when you're talking students that can like drive there and drive back in
and just
one
like
day,
number of students.
Oh, absolutely. That makes
Yeah.
me extremely nervous that the energy
Yeah.
in that stadium is not going to be in our favor.
No. Clemson is a 2.5 hour drive from Charlotte.
yeah. Well, I mean, either team was going to have that advantage.
No, Miami?
Well, they're about the same, but a little bit closer.
Well, Miami's a
Are you talking about
flight.
size?
I'm talking
distance?
about distance. Or am I dumb?
Miami is
pretty
a
far.
flight. It's
Yeah,
going to
you
be a
have to
flight.
fly.
But it's shorter.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. Hey, chat. Someone in the chat. What's
Look up
the
the
difference
flight
between
time.
Miami
Maybe
and
I'm just bad at geography. Okay, whatever.
maybe a bit more than maybe.
I
But
just think Florida and North Carolina.
Juan says no in all caps with exclamation. Miami is South Florida.
Well, yeah, I know it's South Florida, but I'm thinking about
South Florida, North Carolina.
Texas.
Name all the states from Florida up to North Carolina.
It goes Florida. Well, it goes North Carolina, South Carolina.
It's a good start.
Florida. Maybe something in between.
I think Georgia.
No.
Does Georgia go in
is
between?
Georgia in between. I know it
If
goes
anyone's good at geography
Texas,
and wants to help us out.
Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. I mean, Georgia, Florida.
Yeah. Alabama touches Florida too.
Okay, well.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's
We've
Florida-
established
Florida, Georgia,
I maybe need to look at a map.
South Carolina.
Flying to Florida in January and I connect through Charlotte. So maybe that'll help your argument. Charlotte might
I
be
mean,
a good midpoint.
Miami's like maybe it's a tiny bit closer, but it's not drivable.
Mm.
Well, in another world, but here we are with Clemson 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
So
it's basically a home game for Clemson. You know, SMU is supposed to have one whole side of the stadium, but I have a feeling that is not going to happen.
Yeah.
There's going to be a respectable amount of SMU fans that are going to be very energetic and very loud for their size of fans.
You know what
Their
also
amount.
is happening?
What?
Exams.
Exactly. So I've run into some students, talked to some students about it to get their feelings, and a lot of them are like playing with the idea of not going
Because they have final exams.
because they have a final exam on Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, is it the true same for Clemson? Do you think that's going to be less of a problem
don't-
just because it's driving?
I don't think they care as much.
Are you calling them
No,
less
I'm just saying that
academically inclined?
from what I understand is they're a very good school.
Yeah.
They're very smart, but they also are like have
Well,
a more
it's much
culture.
easier. I mean, well, it's
And
also
it's easier,
much
yeah.
easier. All you have to do is drive. You know,
Yeah,
everyone.
you don't have to pay for housing.
What? Oh, I guess
You could do it in
drive
one
home.
day.
You could.
Mm.
I mean, you get home late because it's
Be
8 p.m.
exhausted.
It's an 8 p.m. game, but yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting, that's for sure.
I
I hope that
yeah.
students show up. I hope that professors. I hope that RGT declares a holiday that day and says any exams must be moved.
That'd be a way to go out.
Simply
Yeah.
must be
last year.
moved.
We should, RGT, it's your last year. Like, what are they going to do to you? All right.
Right.
So just
Can't
say,
fire you.
just say no exams on Monday. Heck, no exams on Tuesday either.
Yeah. You know what? No exams. Period. Merry Christmas.
All the classes are pass fail like it was during COVID.
Yeah. Except you just pass automatically.
SMU wins. You
Yeah.
pass. There's an incentive. Help your student body.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that would be crazy, but yeah, that won't happen.
No.
So yeah, Rhett was asked about how he feels about just like the team's chances of making it into the playoff, and here's what his opinion is.
Let's hear it.
It's like win or lose next week. Do you think we've earned
It's
our way?
not my choice, but yeah, I do. I don't think there's any question. You go 11-1, 8-0, 9-1 against Power 4 opponents. There's a lot of stats out there. You know, I don't know. I hope that that's the way it's viewed. Now, we have a chance to still control it by winning next week and hopefully, you know, win a championship. That's the number one goal. And if you do that, maybe, not only are you probably in, you may get a bye. I don't know. But, yeah, I would hope so. I mean, if I'm watching a game last night that I thought was a great game between Georgia and Georgia Tech, I mean, I think Georgia Tech showed what the ACC is all about. And I keep hearing, well, if Georgia wins, they'll be 10-2, and they're automatically in. Well, I don't know. We're 11-1, 8-0. And I'm not comparing schedules. They're a great team. They should be in. They're in the SEC championship game. Heck yeah, they should be in. And I think we should be too. So I respect the committee. That's their call. I know stuff happened again this week, so maybe we move up, maybe we don't. I do hope that our team is rewarded for the body of work and what we've done. If I'm not mistaken, us and Oregon, and I don't even know if Oregon's played yet, would be the only two teams to go undefeated in a power conference, in their conference. Like, I hope that means we're one of the top 12 teams. Regardless, you know, I hope it's the reward next week to play for a championship like we're said it is. But again, we have to worry about what we can control, and that's how we play next week. And so we got to focus on that.
So what do you think about that argument?
No, I mean, I definitely agree that, from an SMU fan, an SMU coach's perspective, we deserve to be in. I think the College Football Commission can be slightly inestimable in how they make their decisions. And I also think that they have, this year, even our ranking, you could say, is like underestimating and undermining us, And so it's like you kind of bring that into question.
Basically has all year until I feel like last week.
Yeah. And so I think, I just still don't know if they like really take SMU that seriously, unfortunately. And that's just a big bummer. I hope that I'm wrong. And it doesn't matter if we go and win next week, but it does if we don't. And I just don't know yet if they view us as seriously as maybe they should yet.
Yeah. I mean, we went undefeated in conference play, and went undefeated in all of play last year and didn't make it to the playoff. Granted, it was 4 teams.
Yeah, I mean, different story last year.
Florida State, So, they're willing to do it. Erica really does not like Florida State.
Yeah.
They were mean for their birthday.
There is one thing, if we don't make it in, I will not be whining like Florida State. You know what?
That's okay.
Whatever.
That's okay.
We move on. We do better next year, and we earn our way in. Mm-hmm. Look at what Florida State has done. They have complained and whined about how they should have been in the college playoffs, and they have completely blown it the following year. They should have come back with fire in their veins and won the college football playoff this year, but they didn't because all they do is whine.
I mean, it's a mentality thing. And I think if there's one thing you can guarantee for certain is that college football is never going to go the way you think it's going to go. And I think I was the other day thinking about this, and I think everyone dictated and said like SMU's story this season was going to go one way, and then we wrote a different one. And I think that's what we have to keep doing even if we don't make it, and just continue to say this is not going to be like, you're not going to put us in this box of like, oh, we're this baby like football team that's not taking any revenue, that's going to do horrible, because we're undefeated in conference play in our first year, and I think we can do it again. Yeah. But I think what makes me the most nervous that can be held against us is our strength of schedule, because I think we're 84th, and
I think it's better than that. But
is it better?
Hey, someone in the chat, look it up.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. But I know we don't have as strong of a schedule, and I think that is going to be held against us. I think it has been held against us, but I think even with the teams we've played that have been on the stronger side, I mean, we blew Pitt out of the water, in my opinion. That was a fantastic game.
They've lost like their last 4 games. Off, like we destroyed them mentally, I feel like. They've given up.
We beat them to the ground.
Yeah. There's nothing left.
Wow. That's really sad.
That is really sad. But I think that's the one thing that I think in the back of my mind is going to be something that is problematic. But I think otherwise we've proved ourselves as best we can.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Man, it's been a wild ride. I've got some questions for y'all that I want to hear your answers to. I think this is a good segue off of what Brian just said. But first I want to ask, did this season go better than you expected? Better than you hoped? Or I guess what did you expect for this season? And how is it stacked up against that?
It's definitely gone better than I expected. Honestly, before I really knew much about the ACC or the teams in it, I was expecting to kind of be a middle flyer, win some games, lose some games, not really make a huge deal. Like, we're just here. It's our first year. We're not at the bottom. We're not at the top. We're just kind of riding by. That's what I expected. And obviously that has been blown out of the water because we go to the championship next week. So, yeah.
I definitely did not have high expectations. Low expectations, high hopes. That was my mentality. I think it was totally based on the bias of like, some of the teams we were playing. Florida State, perfect example. I was like, oh man, they got left out of the college football playoffs. We're playing them. It was our first ACC game, conference game. I was like, that's going to go horribly. Clearly went a different way. And so I think based on kind of how some of the teams have panned out and how we've panned out, like it totally just like changed what I thought was going to happen in the best way. But I think similar to Erica, I expected us to not be horrible, but I didn't expect us to win some key games for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was going into it, my expectations were like 9-3. I thought we were going to lose to Florida State and Louisville and then drop one random game. My guess was Duke, and I was very close on that.
You were very close on the Duke guess. Far too close.
That was the most stressed I think I've been. That and the Nevada game. When I watched that, I was like, oh, this is not going to be a good year.
Isn't that the, it's the first one.
And, you know, now I think about it, those are the only 2 games that I watched here, like in the studio, and maybe that means
Can't watch any more
maybe
games
I
here.
shouldn't watch any more games here.
Whoa.
Bad for my health. Yeah. So next question, kind of talked about this earlier, but does the atmosphere of the games this year make you more excited for football in the years to come?
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I think, we really have already touched on this. Just like makes me wish I was still a student. Makes me wish I could go back, make my college decision for SMU now. But yeah, as a fan, I mean, it was fun today to see so much of the Dallas community coming together and watching. And so, I mean, that's what I am now, is like a young alumni Dallas community member. And so it is fun to like still feel like I have a place at these games and like a really big piece and a really big place at these games. And so it is exciting. And we're a great team and it's really fun to watch. So yeah, got some fun celebrations tonight, which were
Oh my gosh,
really
they were so
sweet.
fun. The cheerleader one, I love that.
What was that?
Where he, I can't remember who it was, got the touchdown, took one of the cheerleaders' pom-poms. Poor thing looked so scared and was just like running around with him. He was
grabbed
having
her
the best
palm,
time.
started doing like cheerleading moves. I think Brashard Smith got one of his touchdowns, ran over to Peruna and gave him a little
Pet.
scratch on the
Yeah.
head.
And the interception too.
Yeah,
Gave the game
number
ball to his
2,
parents.
I
Yep.
think. Yeah,
Jonathan McGill, friend of the pod.
ran to the stands and gave his intercepted ball to his parents.
Yep.
And the video is so cute. So that's fun. I mean, it's fun to watch. Players just having fun.
Is it, because I know you have had moments where you wished you went to a bigger football school in the past.
Sure.
I'm not trying to out you here, but it's just kind of the story. But like, how has, seeing the atmosphere this year for the games you've gone to, has that changed your perspective a little bit on SMU football and just the culture around it?
I mean, I hope that we can continue to evolve. Like, your prime example of football culture is A&M, because at that point you've transition from culture to maybe cult, whatever. But like they have so much like rich history and stories, and they go the night before the game and they practice their chants. I was explaining all of this to Brian.
I thought that was absolute insanity.
Yeah. And
You'll never get SMU students to do that.
Surely
No.
not. But the thing is like we're not even close, And so I want to continue to evolve to something more, like even watching all the A&M kids at game day, it's like they're singing and singing and singing and singing their fight song that they can't even continue their show because it's so loud in the background. And so it's like obviously like they have hundreds of years of school history, and so do we, but like they have built it into this huge story. But I think that like we can continue to evolve just like in excitement like they are. Like we can be excited. And I think people are starting to get really excited, which is not an experience that I had as a student. So
No. I think maybe when we started off the season going like 7-0, 8-0, I think it was my junior year. I remember kind of there being a little buzz, but yeah, nothing like this year at all.
yeah.
Well, I don't think anyone even expected, or at least I didn't expect, the students to react and come together in this way either. Because even like 3 years ago, like at halftime, there was like a small clump of like fraternity boys like just left on the hill. And now I feel
We
like
still have that, a little bit of
we
that
definitely
problem,
still
but
have
it's
that.
better.
But you even like you have student tickets selling out. You have like people waiting and to get first like front sections. And I'm like, that never happened. And I think that was my fear is that like the Dallas community was going to be so all for this. You know, we finally have like a team in a Power 4 conference, but the students were still going to be like, yeah, I'm just going to go to the Boulevard and then leave, you know, but I don't think that's happened. And I think that's the momentum that also needs to build, is that needs to be a tradition of like students like wanting to go to the games for sure.
Well, I mean, another example of another school, but like just Georgia Tech last night. Like obviously Georgia's a huge school, a huge football school. But I was shocked that at the end of the game, after they had been losing 17-0, their stands the day after Thanksgiving were completely full still.
Packed, yeah.
You know, people hadn't left. And I, obviously, different school, football school, huge school. But it's like, if we could even get a fraction of that kind of excitement, you know, at our games, which I think we have, but it's like, it would be crazy to have a game that SMU, was losing, coming back and then having students still there. Because at this point, I don't think that we have that. I think if SMU was losing 17-0 at the half, we would lose most of the fans. And I want it to get to a point that like the students are there still. Like we're going to see it through. And so, yeah, that's my story.
Even Georgia, like it's in a small college town. There's tons of schools like that, Iowa, like Ole Miss and Oxford, and they are packed. And like you have to drive, you have to fly and then drive. And like people do that to go to these games. And Dallas is how big? It's massive. And we are not at that point yet. But like UT obviously is in Austin and has a huge, huge presence. And I want to get to that UT level of like it being such an ingrained part of the city.
Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's ultimately the end goal with the whole like Dallas's team branding. And I think since the Cowboys suck so much, like it makes it a bit easier.
Now could be our time.
Now's our time.
Could be our time.
But we are at a bit of a disadvantage because we just don't have as many like alumni. We don't have as many students going through every year as much as UT does.
Sure.
But
so
even
that, like, just the mindset of like I'm staying till the end of the game.
Yeah.
You know,
no,
like
the mindset.
Yeah,
sure.
Like numbers, sure, we don't have that. I recognize that, but like I want our students to stay to the end of the game. You know, even if we're winning by 30 or losing by 17. You know.
Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, it's gonna keep growing as long as we're good. It's gonna keep getting better.
I mean, the excitement continues to grow. We'll see.
Yeah. Next question. What do you love about SMU?
I loved being in Dallas.
So many things.
Yeah. I loved Dallas, being my college town. I think that was probably my favorite thing about SMU. The campus is beautiful. You never were looking at anything ugly unless you saw a rat or something, which happens. You know, the SMU cats can't take care of all of them. We live in a city, but no, campus is beautiful, and I love Dallas. So,
yeah, it was. I mean, growing up in Colorado, it was such a culture shock coming to Dallas, but I think it is such a fun city in that there's always so much to do, and it's like different from a college town experience. And so I just loved having something to do all the time. And when I went to visit like friends in other college towns, like one of my friends went to Iowa, it was like at 10 a.m. on Friday, they were just like at a bar drinking and just kept doing that through the weekend. And I was like, that's great. Like love college life. But I was like, that's really boring. And I felt like in Dallas, like, yeah, you totally have that like college environment at SMU. But I think you also have like the Cox School and like all the cool networking stuff that you get to do. And you have like concerts, and like I went to pro sports games, and I feel like you don't get that in college all the time, and so I loved that. But I also just like totally bought into the like SMU, like once we started getting good during our college experience, like totally bought into that and felt like I kind of grew with the program and like felt like I became a football fan at SMU, and I think that was my favorite part.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that's kind of where I was too. I mean, I growing up was never really into watching sports. I mean, I played sports, but then kind of with us getting good with the other guy and then his betrayal really got me into it. And now we're really good, and now I'm really into it. So I wanted to ask, what do you hate about TCU?
Everything.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I mean, honestly, everyone knows that TCU. Like, I've totally bought into the rivalry, and the Sonny Dykes thing.
Cloudy
it
Dykes.
feels like
We call him Cloudy Dykes
Voldemort.
here.
Like he cannot be named or something. But
Tom
like,
Riddle, you still on?
Yeah, I think Tom Riddle's here.
it felt. Part of me, when that whole thing was going on, it was like the 5 stages of grief, like denial, and then like anger. Like, he's not going to do that. And then he does it. And you're like, what the heck? And then it's like sadness, especially like them going to the college football playoffs the next year. I was like, what is happening? This is insane. But I think now, seeing not their downfall, but seeing them humbled a little bit, I'm like, you know what? That's kind of deserved. Like, they shot for the stars and they almost made it. But I think, obviously, like, I was not at the TCU game. Absolutely devastating. But like, I was at a wedding and I found the one TV at the wedding to watch him get kicked out of the game. And that was like the greatest moment
It was healing.
of that whole night
healing.
when I was there. And I was like, dang, I feel like I missed history by not being in
Yeah, sure. No, get out of the Ford Stadium. You don't belong here anymore, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, sure, the betrayal was, stuck deep. I'm sure you can listen to Taylor Swift songs and feel the same way. But also, their campus is just ugly. Like, I went once and I was like, this place is ugly. Like, I don't like it. I feel like, I think I went on a really hot day in Texas and I was like, I hate it here. So, yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, Juan says La Quinta Community College.
Right. No, it's ugly. And, I went to the SMU TCU game last year at TCU. And it was so hot, and that stadium is like just, I don't know, you're just boiling in there. And I just
Can't say
remember.
it's much better in Ford.
No, sure, maybe not. But you know what? It feels better to me because it's home, But no, I just don't. It's just ugly. Yeah.
I love the rivalry, though. Like, the whole thing with them getting rid of the rivalry game and that whole saga just makes me sad, because I think when you've got like Dallas and Fort Worth and you have two teams that naturally oppose each other and feed into that, I think it makes it fun. And I feel like it's now a TCU Baylor thing. And like, as much as I would love Baylor to hop on and hate them, it is a dumb rivalry. Like, SMU versus TCU is such a natural
Dallas
rivalry, especially now.
There's literally a rivalry, between Dallas and Fort Worth, the cities, like, what is better? And it's like, okay, just put the cherry on top. What's better, TCU or SMU? Like, no, it is crazy. And the fact that that man, who will not be named, thought that he had the power to be, I guess he does have the power, but he just decided, oh, we're not going to do that anymore. That's crazy. But you know what? He doesn't deserve any more space in our heads, right?
No, I mean, I'm over him.
Yeah.
I'm over it.
As soon as he walked out of that stadium, or was escorted out of Ford Stadium, I think he was escorted out of the space in your head too. So
yeah. No, I mean, justice was served.
Yeah.
I feel like all is right in the world.
Sure.
It felt like closure I needed.
We do need to win next year, though.
Sure. Yeah. We gotta end it with a win. Knock on wood right now.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways. How much do you care?
More than maybe I did at the beginning of the season. Yeah.
I have always cared about SMU football.
Yeah.
I love SMU football. I think I cared so much in college when I was like, we could be so good. And I was like, I just really, really want us to be. And I care so much now. But I think I'm also not enjoying relief, but just enjoying seeing how much it's changed and seeing like the coaches and the players and the staff and the admin get like the recognition they deserve for all the work they put in. I think it's just like, it's just so nice to watch, and I think it's putting us in a really good place, but I will always care about SMU football so much.
Sure.
Putting on your lip gloss over
break.
there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Not normal things that you see on the Mustang Mood podcast.
I got dry lips.
Gotta shake it up.
Mm-hmm.
Very sparkly.
Thanks.
So
It smells like cookies. It does.
Advertisement.
Pink sugar.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
This is so interesting. So what's been your favorite game of the season?
Good question. Well, I liked the last game because my parents came.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was
fun.
Probably Florida State, just because they sucked so bad and everyone thought they were going to be so good. And my favorite moment from that game was there was a Florida State fan in front of Brighton and I, and he was just kind of not very nice person.
So obnoxious.
And you know,
He
saying-
was like there with his daughter too, right?
Yes,
It
his
was
young
weird.
daughter. And he was saying all sorts of stuff. And at one point, I think we're like 25 points ahead.
We're well
of them.
ahead of them.
And we get a penalty. And it really was not a fair call. I don't remember what it was, but it was pretty picky from what I remember. And the guy goes, "Welcome to the ACC." And I was like, dude, you're literally 25 points behind. Like, you are not. We are stomping our way through you into the ACC. It was just crazy, and I don't know.
I was like, lights on, no one's home. Like, you were not comprehending the situation, right?
Yeah, with young daughter right next to him. I'm like, I'd be so mortified. I don't think she was old enough to be mortified, though. So
I think they were the most obnoxious fans that I saw there, and maybe it was because we were sitting in a different area than we usually were, but they were just like talking smack left and right. Like, it was just, even like BYU losing that game, like those fans were loud and they were like there and present and like wanted to like create that energy, but like they weren't rude or like obviously like
Or drunk.
out of their place.
that either.
That either. Honestly.
Which maybe it's a correlation means causation potentially.
In this situation, potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite game too. It probably would have been the TCU game, but it was fun going to the Florida State game, and it was on your birthday, and it was our first ACC game, and like just seeing it go the way it did, I think was like the cherry on top for like, okay, we can do this. We like can make it in the ACC, and like them being like the team that missed out on the college football playoffs and like killing them. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And the student section was like living for it, and I hadn't seen them have that level of energy yet, and it was just awesome.
Well, yeah, because everyone was excited. I mean, we thought Florida State was going to be really good, and so I think that even though maybe
They're so bad.
yeah, even though maybe this wasn't like completely accurate of me in the moment. I mean, you know now 2020 or hindsight is 2020, but it's like in that moment I was like, oh, like we might actually be good if we can beat Florida State. Obviously, that was a bit of a naive thinking because it really at this year doesn't mean anything if you beat Florida State. But at that point, I was like, oh, wow, like we can do this. And that was exciting. Maybe a bit of a mind shift there. Yeah.
Yeah. Tom Riddle says, imagine suing and arguing that you're too good to play SMU and then losing 42-16.
Fantastic.
I know that yeah, I agree because they're just a bunch of crybabies, and I've talked about it way too much, and Walker knows, but the way that I can't.
Yeah.
The tweets after that game were fantastic.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
my gosh.
They were fantastic.
Yeah. So who should our rival team be in the ACC?
In the ACC?
Yeah. Like our new rival. Like we're losing TCU after next year. We don't really have any other rivals
Yeah.
that we really like are invested in.
I mean,
In
I
the
think it
rivalry.
depends on how maybe tomorrow or next week's game goes.
Potentially.
Could be Clemson. It's like you want to say Florida State because it's like, oh, like their fans were mean, but it's like they suck. Like that's kind of a pitiful rivalry.
Yeah. I don't think they'll suck forever though.
Maybe not. Maybe they'll be better next year. But
I think maybe not next year, but I feel like they'll come around. Maybe next year. But yeah, they'll be back.
I
They'll be
feel
good.
like you want a rivalry game that like you go into and you're like, I don't know if we're gonna win. You know, it's so
Yeah.
evenly matched. That's what brings the heart to it. And so I don't know. At this point, I don't know that I've seen. I mean, we haven't seen a team in the ACC that we've been evenly matched to. The closest game was Duke.
Boston College was pretty close too.
Yeah.
I think Boston College this year might have been the most rivalry-like-esque just because it was our redemption from the bowl game that we lost to them. And so, like, there was some stake in it for us, and there was some stake in it for them to prove that, like, oh, we beat you once, we can beat you again.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, when you look at, like, other people comparing, a lot of people are like, oh, SMU and Boston College, SMU and Stanford, SMU, and, you know, because of similar academics, school, student body, whatever. But I think I would like to imagine we could hang with a more football-esque school, but I also know that if we're playing a rivalry game at Florida State, which is a massive school, that'd be a little bit intimidating. But I would
Sure,
love for that to
sure.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. My pick, if I had to just choose one team, I would want it to be Boston College. Just because like I feel like we already are kind of getting a story built, you know, like they beat us in the Fenway Wasabi Bowl in the rain.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I can't believe we played football in a baseball stadium. Like, what the heck?
Sure.
Anyways, they beat us
Home game for them too.
pretty much. And then they come here in our first year in the conference, and we beat them in a fairly close game. But they were like, you heard that they were like, whenever they got their hands on Kevin Jennings, they were trying to like twist his ankle, like break his foot.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, like
Oh
they were
my
actually doing
gosh.
it. That's like why Rhett was so mad on the sideline during that game was when they were tackling or getting hands on Kevin, they were twisting his ankle.
I think the
injure him.
crowd was a difference maker in that game too.
Oh,
and I think
yeah.
Rhett even
He
said
said
it.
that.
He
He
was
said it in
like,
the press
"That's a
conference,
big
yeah.
difference maker."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling the rival energy. They play dirty. That makes me upset. I think we should be rivals. Also, I've never been to Boston. I want to go to Boston. It'd be fun.
Yeah. That's the other thing, though. I mean, ACC, it's just a harder, like, I definitely think we can build rivalries, but it is harder when everyone is so far away.
That's true.
Because
You want to be able to
another thing
go.
about rivalry games is it's, like, packed. And, you know, I mean, the best rivalry, I think, right now is OU and Texas because they go to the Cotton Bowl every year, and the stadium is orange on one side and red on the other. And when one, you know, like there's no difference in the sound ever because one side is always happy, one side is always mad. And like that is rivalry to me. And so it is hard too when you're so far away from all the teams to like have that packed out energy.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
And that's like neutral ground too. Like
Yeah.
it'd be fun if more rivalry games were played like that, where you're playing in like an AT&T stadium, a Mercedes-Benz stadium, and you had kind of that like more
Sure.
neutral ground.
But I think
to make
even
it
if they
fun.
didn't have the neutral ground, I think it would still be, you know, because they are close. They're within like 5 hours, I think, maybe 6. You know, I think you'd still have a pretty packed rivalry game every year.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
just my thinking.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do y'all know what the algorithm is?
You've shared things about it.
Do you know what the
I
algorithm
don't
is?
think I know what that is.
You're kidding. Cal is
I'm gonna
like
Google
they're like
this.
a whole meme now. You know, and
Yeah.
I
this-
saw the equipment guy thing. I don't know if y'all saw that.
oh, where he tackled the guy who
Yeah,
stole the helmet.
I saw that.
That was hilarious.
That was really entertaining.
No, like since they kind of like lean into the whole like really liberal stereotype and make memes about it basically. So when they played Florida, I think their stadium's called like,
And just like really smart.
and they're really
and
smart.
select.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when game day was at Cal, there was a guy holding a sign that said, "I only do lines of code," you know, like stuff like that. But anyways, I found there weren't a ton of memes that were built or made for this game because I think, you know, we really have no animosity towards each other. So it's just kind of fun. But I have a few, and I'd like to show them to you and get your thoughts on them.
Okay.
And I want one of y'all to explain them when I show them to
Oh,
you.
gosh,
So
okay.
for the people that are listening and watching, because, I mean, you're not going to see it. We need an intern. Hey, if you want an intern to help run all this, reach out.
Sure.
But anyways, here's the first one.
Okay. Well,
This is a Cal person that made this. So
Yeah,
we're not.
this is
This is
not
just funny. We're not trying to
me.
offend anyone.
the meme, the words say trans versus Trans Am.
So let me
Those
show
are the
Brian real quick.
words.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
The Cal is on the trans side, and
I think we
their
could
A very
guess.
colorful
Their
flag. A
bear
very colorful
is
flag.
holding the flag. And then there is the obviously golden Trans Am with the pony and the American flag.
Yep. So that's a good one.
Yes.
I like that.
All right, Brighton, this one's yours.
Can I see it?
Yeah, I'll show it to you.
Oh.
Hold on.
I like
I'll
that.
show it to you too.
I like that one.
Oh.
All right, Brighton.
That one's
go ahead
great.
and explain this
It's a nice bowl trophy with protest. I'm gonna misread this. Protesters versus Protestants. We've got some nice little images in the bowl.
I don't know if she can see it very well.
I can see it kind of. I can see
mean,
like
there's
the
not
people on the
much to
signs.
say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're protesters versus Protestants.
Yeah. It's a good one. This one kind of goes with it. Their bear mascot is named Oski, I think. But it just says, I'll just read it. It just says, Oski says, down with Protestantism.
Oh,
Yeah.
speaking of mascots, I had this conversation with my coworkers the other day. We were looking up who the most popular or most well-known college mascots were, because a bunch of people went to A&M, UT, and there's 2 of us that went to SMU. And Bevo was 5th, and Peruna was 2nd on this list.
No
and
way.
I know, that was my
I don't
reaction. I
believe
was
that.
like, no way. But my UT coworker lost his ever-loving mind. He was like, there's no way, and it's become a whole thing. And now I'm like, I don't know how well-known Peruna is.
Yeah.
Like, we have Peruna, the actual horse, and then we have Peruna, the like fake mascot.
Sure.
But I don't think
Wait,
he-
I
that's
don't
not a
buy-
real horse too?
I don't
Sorry to
buy
crush your
that.
dreams.
Oh, no.
Like, I knew who Bevo was. Well, I guess my dad went there. But, like, I don't buy that more people know who Peruna is.
And that's what I said. I was like, maybe 40 years ago when Peruna had killed another mascot and we were,
Good.
Yeah.
very
Really good.
good. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe it was like from back when we were really good and more people know about us.
so we asked everyone in the office if they knew what
here-
the SMU mascot was called. No one knew.
Yeah.
Here's the last one, my personal favorite.
Oh, did you make this?
No.
Okay. It looks like, you know what, Cal and SMU mascots, a pony and a bear, are sitting down having a meal together. It looks very cordial. And the meal that they're sharing is a turkey, but the turkey his head is the head of
Him
he who shall not be named Sonny Dykes. Yes.
That's fantastic.
So it looks
That
like
is a
that
fantastic
meme is just
image.
saying
It's my
that
favorite.
everyone hates him. Maybe?
Well, you know why Cal hates Sonny too, right?
No.
He used to coach there.
Oh.
Was that where he was fired from?
Yeah, he was fired from Cal.
Well, there you go. Okay. Well, I get
Hey,
I
mutual
get it now.
enemies.
So we're eating very cordially at a dinner table together because we have,
One common enemy.
and you know what they say. Yeah, I don't remember.
The
what
enemy
they
of
say.
my
enemy.
enemy is my friend.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
So we
what
will
it
not be
was.
rivals with Cal, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. So I was talking to Yonnic. Yonnic was at the game, but he couldn't make it to the podcast. I was talking about the ACC schedules, rivalries, whatnot. So we have 2 protected, they're calling rivalry games. So like over the next 7 years, this year through 2030, we will play Cal and Stanford every year. And I think the Cal game will fall on the Thanksgiving weekend every year as well.
Interesting.
Which, I mean, I see why they did it just because we all came in at the same time.
Yeah.
But
I don't know
Yeah.
how much energy you're going to build up from that.
Yeah.
no, I mean, I think it's fun. The away games are fun because it's a cool opportunity to go out to California for a weekend.
Totally.
You know, for those that are able to, which probably won't be a ton of people, but I mean, there probably are a lot of SMU fans in California because you think about it, if you go by like state, California is the 2nd largest student body population at SMU.
Yeah.
Behind
After
Texas.
they're done eating Thanksgiving turkey with their family at home, they can just take a short ride
Yeah.
to the Cal game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'll make it out there, but yeah. Well, I think we're kind of wrapping up on time here.
Yeah.
Do y'all have anything else you want to share? Any other thoughts about SMU football or anything?
I'm excited for next week. I do hope to see less penalties. I think that was my biggest takeaway from the game today, as we've already discussed. And I really do think that that's going to be what makes a difference in the game next week, potentially, because we play at a really high caliber. And if we play at that caliber with no penalties, then I think that, we have a really good chance to take the game.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I will be at the Taylor Swift Eras Tour concert, but don't you worry. I will have this game up on my phone for
No,
sure.
you won't.
No
I'm not
way.
Because guess what?
No
The
way.
Eras Tour only happens once.
And
We're going to the championship multiple times.
Exactly.
This is the 2nd year in a row.
Yep.
Let's just keep it going.
Yep.
Why stop now?
Right. Why stop now?
So, anyways, I wanted to ask, where do y'all think we'll be ranked?
By whom?
Playoff committee on Tuesday.
We are 9 now.
We're currently 9.
I think there's a chance we move up because of some.
Miami's dropping out.
Yep. and Ohio State
They'll drop down.
lost.
They'll stay within the top 12.
We're not going to, pass them, but I just think there's going to be some mixing around. I think we'll be 7, maybe 8.
I'm going to say 8th because I don't know how far Ohio State's going to drop.
Yeah, I don't
But
think
I
they'll
just
drop
I don't
a
know
lot.
if this game is enough to push us up 2 and say, "Oh my gosh, we're 7th."
Yeah.
You know, but we'll go up for sure. But
Yeah.
8th probably.
But even if we stay where we are,
it's a great place to be.
I mean, I don't think we will though, because hopefully we'll at least move up 1, because Miami's will fall
dropping.
out.
Miami's dropping out of the top 12.
Yeah.
I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I mean, Syracuse is a good team.
But
I think
they're not ranked, are they?
No.
So
since they're not
how
going to
could
the
you
championship,
possibly,
you can't rank them because if you're
Yeah.
ranking Miami, then you're ranking Clemson and SMU too, in my opinion, because they're in the
Yeah.
championship.
I mean, I think Clemson will probably
Clemson
just
is 11,
12.
12.
They're gonna drop to 13, I think.
I think they'll just flip places with South Carolina.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. It would also be surprising to see South Carolina go into the playoff.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like South
I
Carolina.
don't know. South Carolina, they
They're all over the
are
place.
a black horse.
Maybe they could sneak in. But I don't know.
We looked at their record today too, just because we were interested. And obviously, you and I watched them play against OU, and I was not impressed with their defense. I mean, their offense. I was impressed with their defense, but they have some pretty sizable wins, and their losses are, from what I remember, not terrible. Like, their losses are very respectable, I think.
Yeah. I
But-
mean,
I just
they are a
think were all
3-loss team,
over.
though.
Yeah, sure.
So,
I mean, I don't think they're jumping, anywhere crazy, but
yeah. They'll be right on the bubble, I think.
Yeah.
I think they'll be left out of the playoff.
Mhm.
But anyways, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on.
sure.
I don't know what
This
to
was
say
very
Go
now.
entertaining.
ponies.
Yeah, pony up.
Yeah.
Pony up forever.
Yeah.
Pony up. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Appreciate the fans. I hope you all have that Mustang mood, just like we do.
Oh, yeah.
Keep investing into the program, keeping fans. Give us a like. Everyone watching right now, just go ahead and like the video. Leave a comment. Follow us on Spotify. Check out our Instagram. All the things. Leave a voice memo. We didn't hear from good old Hulker Waris today
Yeah.
in the voice memos, but if you've listened in the past, you've heard about how awesome voice memos are. So shoot us a question. Let us know how you think we're going to do against Clemson, and what you're excited for going forward. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope everyone has a good night. Pony up.
Pony up. Woo-hoo.